Hi, thanks for watching our first ControlPoint video. This video will mark the beginning of a new series where we will try to feature ControlPoint and eventually the other product in the secure content portfolio offered by Micro Focus. So you've seen our videos on Content Manager, and now we're going to start this new series on ControlPoint. ControlPoint's been around for a while. I've been working with the product since I actually did work on version 2.0. 3.0 came out very quickly, but now we're up to 5.6. So there's been a lot of changes. If you are a current ControlPoint user, then you'll be familiar with the colorization of each of the modules, categories, policies, and repositories. It all has been flatlined. So in today's video, we're going to look at the new color scheme. Then I'll quickly go in and just show you what the repository views look like, what the categories look like, what the policies look like, and then we'll finish off with some administrative options. All right, let's go to our screen. ControlPoint is a web-based, so we're going to open up Internet Explorer, and I already have it up. And there we have. So the first thing you'll notice that the ControlPoint landing page has changed. Nice origami figurines there in the picture. The palette has changed. Now before we would have seen blue, orange, green, and purple for the administration. That has been flatlined to blue, but you will notice down here that there's still a throwback to the original colors. So the green, orange, and blue still exist. Other than that, this page is just your landing page, and most things you're going to do when you get here is jump into the repositories. So let's do that. As the repositories load, I'm going to take this thing to full screen so you guys can get a better view of what you're seeing on the screen. Everything else here, the layout is pretty much the same. You're going to have the state of the repository from left to right, registered, analyzed, and managed. Over here, we still have the same filtering ability by name. Other filters, if you create, say, properties. You can display the cards, or if you have a lot of repositories, you can display it as a list. So this functionality still exists, the add button for a new repository. The ability to isolate your repositories out by type still exists, so this hasn't changed too much. Let's take a look at this SharePoint site. When it's in the registered state, you of course can still browse it, and sure enough, I can jump into that corporate SharePoint site and view and access some of those files. Returning back to my repositories, this time I'm going to go into the managed one, and again we have the cards. Now this repository has been analyzed, so I will be able to get some preliminary information in terms of redundant analysis, potential risk items, things that couldn't be opened, etc. I can look at my addition rate over time and my volume rate over time. I can continue. Let me get this one up here for you. I can see the file types, and off screen, of course, you have the ability to do your grammars, your PII information if you want, or anything of interest that would have been brought to you through the categories. This has not changed. You can still click on your donuts. In terms of the redundant, look for your duplicates. Once you're into this particular view, the analysis still works, so I can bring back sample size relative to the volume. Of course, I only have 28 records, so it's only giving me a sample size of 5. Tagging is still an option if you wanted to apply tags. Of course, it helps, as you just saw, if you select one first. Now you go ahead and apply your tags. They haven't changed as well. I do have a couple of policies I could potentially apply. I just created a very quick move and delete. We can come back to that in a few moments. Visualization still exists. I'm going to click on my visualization tab to see what's come up here. Not a very exciting visualization, so let me just jump this down to no policy attached, and all this still works the same. If I click on the main red dot or the focus point, I will see all the records that ControlPoint has used to create this particular cluster in my visualization map. Clicking back to my summary, you can again browse and access any one of those presentation points and then start to do your due diligence on those. I'm going to navigate back to the repositories. Again, you can manage their states by the drop down. None of this has really changed. Let's take a look at our categories. I've gone ahead and created some categories. In this particular one, we're going to look for financial records, and it's basically doing a Boolean text word search for a few financial terms. I click on that and I find 299 records. Now the statistical analysis button lets me bring back any certain amount of size. It looks like it's gone up here approximately to about a third. If I wanted to start to go through those and do my due diligence in terms of identifying those records and if they are in fact worthy of being classified as financial records. Over to the policies, hasn't changed other than the color. We still have our delete, our move. Let me just pick on one of these policies in particular. I still have my graphs in terms of how many have been applied. Oh, that is off screen. So you know what I'm going to do? Let me try to bring that in screen for you. There we go. So you still have the ability to look at your policy assignment rate, your policy execution rate, and basic information on the policy. Other than that, you can look at the policy items, see how many have been executed, how many are in state, how many are being processed. And of course, if you had any issues, they would be available to view here. Finally, well, you know what? Let me go back to the repositories and I'll just execute a few. So I'll jump into my analyze state, click on my repository, and I'll go to my contents. And let me just click and be very mindful of the word assistant and credit crunch. And what I'll do is just apply a simple policy for you to move it. Click OK. I got to bring down the web browser so I can hit OK. Click apply. I've got those two policies applied. It should refresh. Let me refresh that again and bring up the policies. Jump on over to my move. So you see here in the graph, I do have a few policies that were just applied today. There we go, the two files that I put on there. So while I'm talking about the administration, we'll let that policy run in the background, and then I'll show you, since it was a move policy, it ended up just going to another archive. So we'll take a look at that one in a moment. Back to the administration tab, some of the interesting cards we can see here. Additional domain registration is a new feature in 5.6. Audit reports, conflict, custom grammar, health check, and index management have remained the same. We still got our insert configurations, security management, and a few other ones as well. So there isn't much change in the back end other than the color palette and the addition of the domain. You can add in a few other features. It's pretty much been the same tool short of the color. Let's take a look at the help file. I do like the help file. You can see that selecting the help, you can start searching for things. If I want to add a repository, I do my search, and it will find repository command line, how to add a repository, and take you through the help file. So I do really like the help file in both products, Content Manager and ControlPoint. The help file is extremely robust and accurate, especially for when you're looking for things in particular. It did open up another tab for the help file, so I can just jump back here to my ControlPoint. And finally, there is the global search where I can actually search idle. So I can search for, say, salmon, which I do find a few records that potentially contain the word salmon, or maybe I'm going to do accounting. Execute my search. This will probably have a few more records than the salmon one, but sure enough, able to do a blanket search across all your repositories using the IDO Analytics. Now that policy that I had applied a little bit earlier in the video, let's go see where our status is on that. Gotta click my move. Looks like it's executing. It looks like it has an addition rate. I'm just going to rush things along with that particular policy. So what I can do is in my administration options, go to my scheduled tasks, and inside my scheduled task, I can look for the policies. I believe that one is set up as a normal policy. I'm just going to speed it along and do run now. That should get things a little bit quicker. Now, what I'm trying to do is wait for that policy to execute. What I've done is I've added the target location for that particular policy is just moving things here on my inside my C drive to a thing called file archive, and sure enough, remember the names of those files. I did grab assistant and credit crunch. You can see that they have been actually moved to this repository. So just a very quick overview of ControlPoint to show you that the color palette has changed. Other than that, it does behave, work, and function as it did in earlier versions. I personally, if you just have watched my 9.3 for Content Manager video, I do like the new color palette that they've come up with. This very plain, high contrast, very easy to navigate and see things in the interface. So I do like that. Kudos to the design team for updating it, and more importantly, kudos for keeping it consistent with Content Manager. So that's our video today on ControlPoint. Expect to see a few more videos focusing on some of the new features. What I really like about ControlPoint is the insert configurations, and of course, if you have watched some of the other videos, we do offer online training, virtual training, classroom training, whatever you need. So we are launching a whole new training program, and we will feature courses for Content Manager as well as ControlPoint. Hope you sign up. Let me go to my end screen. On the left, you'll have recent videos added. On the right, you'll have a playlist of other interesting items. Feel free to browse. Feel free to subscribe and post anything in the comments, and we'll get back to you. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.